There is a quiet, almost invisible line that separates the person you are today from the person you are destined to become, and most people spend their entire lives walking parallel to it, never realizing that a single shift in perspective could cross it instantly. We live in a world that conditions us to believe that massive transformation requires a sudden, catastrophic lightning bolt of luck or a monumental stroke of genius, but the reality of human behavior and neurobiology tells a completely different story because your life does not change when you reach a grand destination, it changes the exact moment you decide that your current reality is no longer the standard you are willing to accept. If you are watching this right now, chances are you are waiting for that one day, that perfect moment when the stars align, the financial stress evaporates, the relationship heals itself, or the career of your dreams lands in your lap. But I am here as someone who has studied the profound mechanics of human potential and personal wellness to tell you that waiting for that day is the very thing keeping it from arriving. The human brain is a magnificent, highly adaptive machine, but it is also incredibly lazy by nature, designed to keep you safe, comfortable, and exactly where you are, which means that if you do not consciously disrupt your current patterns, your brain will happily repeat the same thoughts, choices, and behaviors for the next 10 years while you wonder why nothing is improving. One day your life will change, but it will not happen because the world decided to be kinder to you. It will happen because you decided to change the internal environment that dictates how you interact with the world, shifting from a passive observer of your circumstances to an active architect of your biology, your psychology, and your daily routine. To understand how this transformation occurs, we have to look closely at the profound connection between our daily habits, our physiological state, and the psychological frameworks that govern our decisions, starting with the realization that your current life is simply the lagging indicator of your past rituals. When you wake up in the morning, your brain immediately begins scanning your environment for familiar cues, and within the first 10 minutes of your day, you have likely replayed the same anxieties, checked the same notifications, and stepped into the exact same emotional state that you occupied yesterday, which effectively means you are using your past to recreate your future. If you want a different tomorrow, you must begin by auditing the invisible scripts that run your life, starting with your physiological health, because a mind trapped in a chronically fatigued, poorly nourished, and sleep-deprived body will never possess the cognitive bandwidth required to execute high-level strategic changes. Think of your body as the foundational hardware and your mind as the software. You can have the most brilliant, highly sophisticated software goals in the world, but if you are running them on outdated, overheating hardware that is starved of clean energy, the entire system will crash every single time you try to push it past its comfort zone. This is why true life transformation never starts with grand, sweeping declarations of intent, but rather with the meticulous, almost boring optimization of your daily inputs, including the quality of your sleep, the hydration of your cells, the nutrients you put into your body, and the physical movement you use to flush out stagnant stress hormones. When you begin to treat your physical vessel as a high-performance instrument, your brain rewards you with a massive influx of dopamine and neuroplasticity, which are the exact chemical ingredients required to rewrite old, self-limiting behavioral loops and replace them with empowering new trajectories. As you optimize your physical foundation, you will naturally begin to encounter the secondary barrier to lasting change, which is the profound psychological friction that occurs whenever a human being attempts to step outside of their established comfort zone. This friction is not a sign that you are doing something wrong, nor is it proof that you lack the willpower or talent to succeed. Rather, it is a completely natural biological response known as homeostasis, which is your body's deeply ingrained desire to maintain a stable, predictable internal state at all costs. When you attempt to wake up earlier, study a new skill, change your diet, or set boundaries in your relationships, your nervous system interprets this unfamiliar behavior as a potential threat to your survival, triggering a subtle yet powerful wave of anxiety, self-doubt, and procrastination designed to force you back into your old, comfortable routines. Understanding this evolutionary mechanism is the ultimate cheat code for personal growth, because once you realize that discomfort is simply the sensation of your brain rewiring itself, you can stop viewing it as a stop sign and start viewing it as a green light that proves you are moving in the right direction. To successfully navigate this internal resistance, you must learn to practice what cognitive behavioral experts call emotional regulation, which involves recognizing your negative thoughts without identifying with them, allowing the wave of resistance to wash over you without letting it dictate your actions. The individual who changes their life is not the individual who never feels fear or laziness. It is the individual who feels those heavy, restrictive emotions and says to themselves, I see you, I hear you, but we are moving forward anyway, thereby breaking the feedback loop of self-sabotage that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity for decades. This brings us to a critical crossroad in our understanding of personal transformation, where we must address the common misconceptions and cultural myths surrounding motivation, because relying on motivation to change your life is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. Motivation is an unpredictable, fleeting emotional state that is highly dependent on your blood sugar levels, the weather, how much sleep you got last night, and a dozen other variables that are completely outside of your control, making it a terrible foundation upon which to build a brand new life. If you only work on your goals, eat cleanly, or invest in your future when you feel motivated, you will only do it about 2 days a week, which is a guaranteed recipe for remaining exactly where you are while watching others pass you by. The elite performers, the exceptionally healthy, and the truly fulfilled individuals of this world do not operate on motivation. They operate on systems, discipline, and non-negotiable identity statements that dictate their actions regardless of how they happen to feel on any given Tuesday morning. When you transition from a motivation-based mindset to a system-based mindset, you remove the exhausting burden of decision-making from your daily life, automating your success by creating an environment where doing the right thing is easy and doing the wrong thing is friction-filled and difficult. You design a morning routine that requires zero thought. You prep your meals in advance so you never have to make a nutritional choice while starving, and you remove the digital distractions from your workspace before you even sit down to create, effectively outsmarting your own future laziness before it even has a chance to manifest. To truly appreciate the power of these systems, we must explore the concept of micro-progression, which states that massive, life-altering outcomes are nothing more than the mathematical compounding of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices made consistently over long periods of time. If you improve just 1% in any area of your life each day, the mathematical reality of compounding interest means that by the end of a single year, you will be 37 times better than you were when you started, a transformation so profound that your old friends will barely recognize the person standing before them. Conversely, if you allow yourself to decline by just 1% each day through neglect, poor choices, and emotional reactivity, you will spiral down almost to zero, demonstrating that there is no such thing as standing still in life because every single choice you make is either moving you closer to your highest potential or dragging you further down into your lowest default state. The tragedy is that because the consequences of a single poor choice are rarely felt immediately, we deceive ourselves into thinking that our daily micro-habits do not matter, convincing ourselves that eating one unhealthy meal, skipping one workout, or wasting 1 hour on social media will not ruin our lives. While a single infraction certainly will not destroy your future, the subtle erosion of your self-trust that occurs when you repeatedly break promises to yourself absolutely will, creating an internal identity of someone who speaks about greatness but consistently chooses comfort, which is the most difficult psychological pattern to break once it takes root. Breaking free from this cycle requires a radical shift in how you view your identity, moving away from focusing entirely on what you want to achieve and instead focusing on the type of person you need to become to sustain that achievement naturally. Most people approach goal setting entirely backward, starting with the outcomes they desire, such as wanting $1 million, a shredded physique, or a blissful relationship, and then trying to force their behaviors to align with that outcome without ever changing the underlying identity that controls those behaviors. If you view yourself as an unhealthy person who is merely trying to go on a diet, your true identity will constantly fight against your temporary restrictions until you inevitably give in to your cravings. But if you shift your identity to that of an athlete, a health-conscious individual, or a professional, your choices will flow naturally from that self-image because human beings possess an incredibly deep psychological need to act in alignment with who they believe they are. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become, meaning that every time you choose to read a book instead of watching television, every time you choose to drink water instead of soda, and every time you choose to show up for your work despite being tired, you are casting a powerful vote for your new, elevated identity. Over time, as the mountain of votes for your new self grows higher and higher, your old identity simply dissolves from a lack of reinforcement, allowing your new, extraordinary life to manifest not as a strained, temporary effort, but as the natural, effortless expression of who you fundamentally are. As you embark on this journey of identity-driven transformation, you must also learn how to audit your external environment, because the people, spaces, and media you consume act as a powerful invisible gravity that is constantly pulling you either toward your future or back into your past. You cannot expect to heal, grow, and evolve into a new version of yourself if you are constantly surrounding yourself with the very environments and social circles that triggered your old, toxic patterns in the first place. The human brain is equipped with a fascinating network of cells known as mirror neurons, which are designed to mimic the emotions, behaviors, and worldviews of the people we spend the most time with, meaning that if your inner circle consists of individuals who are cynical, unmotivated, chronically complaining, and physically stagnant, your brain will unconsciously adopt those exact same traits as its baseline survival strategy. This does not mean you have to ruthlessly abandon everyone you love overnight, but it does mean you must develop the maturity and the courage to set firm boundaries, limiting your exposure to negative influences while actively seeking out mentors, communities, and digital spaces that elevate your thinking, challenge your assumptions, and inspire you to demand more of yourself. Your attention is the most valuable currency you possess in the modern digital age, and wherever you choose to direct that attention is exactly where your creative energy, your emotional health, and your future life will inevitably grow. While optimizing your environment and identity is crucial, you must also prepare yourself for the inevitable seasons of adversity, failure, and unexpected hardship that characterize any meaningful human life, understanding that these moments are not proof that your journey has failed, but are rather the ultimate testing grounds where your character is forged. The illusion of a perfect, linear path to success is one of the most damaging lies told by modern media, causing many well-meaning individuals to completely abandon their goals the moment they experience a financial setback, a health scare, or a painful personal rejection. True health and psychological resilience lie in your ability to develop a state of mental flexibility, recognizing that obstacles are not blocking the path. They are the path itself, designed to expose your weaknesses, sharpen your problem-solving skills, and build the energetic capacity required to handle the greater responsibilities of your next chapter. When you encounter a massive setback, instead of dropping into a victim mindset and asking why this is happening to me, you must train your mind to ask the empowering question, what is this experience trying to teach me, and how can I use this data to refine my strategy moving forward? This simple shift from a passive victim to an active student changes everything, transforming your pain into progress and ensuring that no matter what life throws at you, you are always growing, always learning, and always moving closer to that ultimate day of profound personal evolution. To sustain this high level of growth over the long arc of your life, you must also master the art of energetic recovery, realizing that chronic burnout, relentless stress, and a lack of self-compassion are not badges of honor, but are actually counterproductive saboteurs that destroy your long-term potential. We live in an exhausting culture that glorifies the constant, non-stop hustle, telling us that if we are not working every waking second of the day, we are falling behind, but this philosophy ignores the fundamental biological reality that growth does not actually happen during the period of stress, it happens during the period of rest that follows. Just as a muscle must be broken down in the gym and then allowed to repair through deep rest and proper nutrition to grow stronger, your mind and your life require dedicated periods of deep, intentional recovery to integrate the lessons you are learning and recharge your cognitive batteries. This means setting hard boundaries around your sleep hygiene, disconnect from digital devices at night, spending time in nature to calm your overstimulated nervous system, and engaging in creative hobbies that bring you joy purely for the sake of the experience itself without any pressure to monetize or optimize it. When you honor your body's natural rhythm of intense focus followed by deep, restorative rest, you protect yourself from the devastating cliff of burnout, ensuring that your journey toward a better life is a sustainable, deeply fulfilling marathon rather than a frantic, painful sprint that leaves you broken before you ever reach the finish line. As you integrate these practices into your life, you will slowly begin to notice that the world around you starts to respond differently to your presence, because when you change your internal vibration, your standards, and your energy, you naturally attract opportunities, people, and circumstances that match your new frequency. You will find yourself saying no to things that used to tempt you, not because you are forcing yourself to be disciplined, but because those old behaviors simply no longer align with the vision of the future you are building every day. You will stand taller, speak with greater authority, make decisions with clarity, and move through the world with an unshakable sense of purpose that cannot be easily derailed by the opinions or criticisms of others. This is the moment where the illusion of waiting for one day dissolves completely, and you realize with absolute certainty that the day your life changes is not a mysterious date on a future calendar. It is a rolling sequence of present moments that you possess the power to shape right now through the power of your choices. You are no longer waiting for permission to be great. You are no longer waiting for someone to rescue you, and you are no longer making excuses for why your past has to dictate your future. You have stepped fully into the role of the creator, recognizing that your life is a magnificent canvas and every single day is an opportunity to paint a masterpiece of health, abundance, and profound joy. Ultimately, the transformation of your life is an ongoing, beautiful process of stripping away the layers of who you thought you were supposed to be so that you can finally discover who you truly are at your core, independent of the expectations, fears, and limitations that society has projected onto you. It requires an immense amount of radical honesty to look at your current circumstances and admit where you have been settling for less than you deserve, but that honesty is the catalyst that ignites the fire of lasting change. Do not let another day pass by in a fog of passive waiting, scrolling through the lives of others while yours remains stagnant. Instead, take total, radical ownership of your biology, your psychology, and your daily actions starting this very moment. If you found this information valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let me know in the comments what topic you want to see next.